Welcome into the PFF NFL Daily. Today, answering what the people want here, Sam. They want to know which team, like everyone's asking, which team do you just not want to play come January? And I'm not just talking about those 2 weeks in January that are the regular season now that it's been pushed back. I'm talking about playoff January. So we make fun of this on all of our shows, but we're going to have an actual show about it. Which team is most dangerous, or teams are most dangerous heading into the playoffs? Who does nobody want to play, Sam? Start with you.
One in each conference. The San Francisco 49ers, the team in the NFC. Okay, so they don't have any cornerbacks and their defense is a little bit suspect, but who cares? Because look at that offense. When they have all those playmakers firing, it is just so hard to match up with this team. You have nobody that can match up with Deebo Samuel, but if you somehow manage to take him out of the game, oh yeah, George Kittle is just going to go out there and make ridiculous plays, whether it's yards after the catch, busting through contact, or making a ridiculous fingertip grab on a pass that's, a little bit overthrown by Jimmy G to end the game effectively.
It was away from coverage. It was up and over the defender.
Cincinnati. And, Brandon Ayuk still there making plays. They just have so many weapons, a really good offensive line. And also, as flawed as the defense is, they can get a ton of pressure on the quarterback. And that's a pretty important thing if your secondary is going to be suspect. And then the AFC, the Indianapolis Colts.
Let's start talking about the 49ers first, because I agree with you on that team, right? And this is the reason for this. And when we get to the Colts, it's probably the same reason. They are who we thought they were, right? I mean, that's essentially what's happening here. Before the season, if you described the Niners, it would have been that description that you just had. How do you cover all of these guys? And over these last few weeks, for the most part, we've seen them healthy now that Deebo Samuel came back, and love the way they are using him all over the field. Especially when they do line him up in the backfield. So, yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo, for the most part, has played pretty good football in recent weeks. Got to cut down on those bad turnover-worthy plays, but it is very much a 2019-like offense for this 49ers, where they're tough to cover, more difficult to cover, really, than their Super Bowl team. They just don't have that same defense that they had on that Super Bowl run, to your point, as far as the cornerback depth. And, yes, Nick Bosa, an absolute problem off the edge and somebody that needs to be accounted for. So, agree with you on the Niners. Let's hear your take on the Colts.
Well, number one, the Colts are such an imposing team. They managed to make the playoffs from being outside of the standings without even playing this weekend. That's
big week for the Colts here.
That's how scary the Colts are. But look, seriously, they gave the Buccaneers a game. They've started to roll in terms of once that offensive line is healthy. They're dominant on the ground. Carson Wentz is not making a lot of mistakes, which is critical for this team. Typically, if you were looking at quarterbacks heading into a playoff run, you wouldn't be massively, enamored or confident in having Carson Wentz as your quarterback. But Carson Wentz has one of the lowest turnover-worthy play rates in the entire NFL right now, just 2.2%. And 7 of those 11 turnover-worthy plays came in that 2-game stretch, one of which was in a ridiculous rainstorm in San Francisco, the other one of which doesn't have any, excuse for it. It was just a game where he threw had a bunch of turnover-worthy plays against the Titans. But Carson Wentz is legitimately playing a very clean brand of football. And as long as that ground game is running, the offensive line is good, he plays, careful with the ball, that's a really good offense.
Would you be surprised if I told you that the Colts are 4th in the NFL in points per game overall? Of course, that's not just the offense, but just overall points per game. Of course, it's the majority of it is the offense, but right up there with the Rams, right up there with the Bills as far as putting points on the board. And sure, there's a game against the Jets where they scored about 100 points, but either way, if you had told me that before the season, that I would disagree with. I would say there's no way the Colts are going to be that explosive and score that many points. But we've seen Jonathan Taylor work well. When he gets good run blocking, he's good, but he's gone well above and beyond what's been given to him. Michael Pittman emerging as a true number one over there. So there is a lot to like about the Colts and them being a dangerous team in the playoffs. There's an element to like, hey, they finally got it back on track. There's this other element to like, hey, they have progressed offensively. And Frank Reich, he plays an aggressive brand of football. And when you talk about those fourth down decisions that a Frank Reich would make, it's not necessarily that they're always going to pay off. But if you're in an upset situation, which the Colts will be when and if they're in the playoffs, those are the types of decisions that need to be made to pull off those upsets. So, yeah, I think I can understand the Colts in that mix. I'll give you at least one AFC team that's different. But football fans, I'm sure we love an action-packed, high-scoring NFL game, but with the latest no-brainer from DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. You'll be a winner once a single point is scored. New customers who bet just $1 on any team to score can win $100 in free bets. It's that simple. The sportsbook isn't yet available in your state. You can still get in on the NFL action. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy sports contests. And DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PFF. Bet $1 on any team to score and win $100 in free bets. If they score, you score with promo code PFF. This week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Usually, every talk show this week is going to, when they pose this question, nobody wants to play the 49ers. Nobody wants to play this team. It's all based off the recency bias. So let me circle back the other way and circle the wagons for the Buffalo Bills. So the Buffalo Bills, who are now 7-5, 7-6, 7-5, coming out of this week, right? Don't make sure I'm not wrong. Yeah, 7-6. Oh my gosh. Okay, week 13, week 14. Got it. So they're 7-6, and that's the same record as the Colts. I mean, you would look around and say, oh, all these 7-6 teams. So just because some teams are ascending and some teams are descending, the Bills just played the Patriots and they just played the Bucs. A couple tough games. But if the Bills end up being this lower seed, it doesn't mean we should forget what they are. And that's a team that's dangerous with Josh Allen, that's dangerous in the passing game, that does have one of the best pass defenses in the NFL, even without Tre'Davious White. Yeah, they have a hole as far as stopping the run and all that, but they're still, hey, it's a dangerous Bills team because they can pass the ball and stop the pass.
They're dangerous. Yeah, I no, you're wrong. They're dangerous, and I think
you want to play the Bills. You want to play the Bills like over the Colts?
I don't personally, but the problem is most of the AFC, I think, does. Like right now, Buffalo has a real problem against physically imposing teams that can run the ball and cause them issues like that. That's most of the AFC playoff field right now. New England, Baltimore, Tennessee, Indianapolis, those teams are all really well built to smash mouth right over the Buffalo Bills. I think any of those teams would be perfectly happy to play them. Cleveland are in the playoff mix as well. They like the Buffalo Bills are basically built to give the Kansas City Chiefs a game, and everybody
the Kansas City Chiefs don't want to face the Buffalo Bills.
Agreed. That's one I will give you. Everybody else is perfectly happy to play them.
I mean, ultimately, the answer to the question is nobody wants to play the Bucs or the Chiefs, the two teams that we thought were the best teams coming in, and I think they're slowly starting to make their way to the top. And by the end of it, they very might well be the two top teams in each conference. Nobody wants to play the Chiefs because every now and again their offense, throws back the clock to what they've been the last 3 years, like they did on Sunday. When they play the Raiders, I know we've got to see them do it against someone else, but
that defense 14 points a game on offense over the last 6 weeks against teams that aren't the Raiders.
I know, but still that defense is legit right now. That defense is legit. They're finding different ways to win. So in the spirit of the question, I went with the Bills. And I don't know if there's another one in the NFC besides the 49ers. All the ones that, kind of resembled that remark, the Vikings. I don't know if I'd be afraid of the Vikings sneaking in. Is there anyone else? And Washington had been that team for us, and I think they showed their flaws against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I think they did. I think the Vikings are a team that could be scary, just because of the potency that offense has within it. If they actually turn up for a game. I mean, okay, they took their foot off the gas for whatever reason against Pittsburgh. It got close, but they were destroying the Steelers defense in the first half. If they have a game like that in the playoffs, it's going to take a very good NFC team to beat them, but they might not even make it anywhere near the playoffs. So, who knows? Maybe
I'm overrating their ability to make everything into a one-score game, but yes, you're right. The first half against the Steelers, when it was somebody covered Justin Jefferson, I don't even know if I want to credit the run blocking in Dalvin Cook. I think the Steelers defense was just outgapped and outmanned. But you see the explosiveness, to your point, with Dalvin Cook, with Justin Jefferson. But look, I think the 49ers are a good team. I think the Colts, they make sense. It's a wide open AFC, and the Colts can do some damage. And keep an eye on the Bills. Don't sour on the Bills just because of these last few weeks. They have elements that can play as well, including Josh Allen. Fair? Who's going to be the hot team across all the networks? The Niners?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. And they, one bounce of the ball one way or the other way, and that game, the Bengals win. Mm-hmm. So anyway, you'll hear about all the teams that you don't want to play in January. So we have ours here.